Hey, what's up, guys? Just to make a quick video here, update here after a curious question in the comments on my last video about this. He's asking about the airflow because this is a slower fan motor. I believe it is an 825, 850 it says, and what I took out was a 1075. So I'm bastardizing this Goodman unit with a Train ECM motor that I had just laying around. I was first kind of concerned about it being a little lower with the fan blades, lower from the fan grill. Oop, here it goes, it's going to start. Got a little delay. But it actually seems to be blowing pretty hard. Of course, feeling with your hand and what it's actually doing. Well, let's find out. These are pretty much identical units. They have the same original quarter-horse fan motor. So let's fire up the test node. Load up the Testo app right here. And of course, I mean, this isn't going to be an exact science, but it'll still give you an idea. See if we can set this tablet here. So this is just one of those things. I'll just put it like in the same spot. I'll put it like about an inch, a couple inches in, about a finger length here from. Put this little red button like right at the edge, pretty much centered right there. Maybe this will be a lot less. It does feel like a bit less. Of course, it's mild right now, so it's plenty of airflow. 1200, so it's kind of bouncing around there. Focus. Wow, this stupid Samsung's having a bitch of a time focusing. Oh, it's cursing. There we go. I moved it about in that far. Let me see what this one's doing. That was like 1600. That would say 2000. So it's definitely lost a little bit of airflow. These are, somebody just asked that, they thought they were from like 94 or something. These are 2001. 2001. This is downstairs, so I think it's a 3.5 ton. Yep, 3.5 ton, 2001. 4 ton. And I think it's supposed to top, but trying to put this in at the same spot. I had like 1600 a second ago on this. There it is. Tipped over a little bit. In the 1600, just what it's, you know, I haven't adjusted what size duct or what it was being. So just feet per minute, not CFM. Trying to just move it around on each one. See what I get. For like an average. Moving it in and out. So it gets up there around 2000 or so. Go back to this other one. Now that they're both running, it's about almost 2,000. Kind of varies, and I'm going to get a little difference with the, you know, distance of that fan blade. Angle of this. That's as bad as I thought. So, depending on where I hold this, I'm getting up to 2,200, but mostly around 2,000 average feet per minute. And then at the outer edge, I'm getting, you know, like 1,200, but it's pretty strong when I get it in there. It's like close to 2,000 also, so some spots. Moving it around. So it is a little less. So I was just commenting back to that other guy on that other video, and of mine. And yeah, this is a 1075 RPM fan blade that I just put on this 850 motor, so it's, you know, that's probably why the motor was only doing 0.55 amps. The original motor is rated for 1.4, I believe, and they usually pull like 1.2 or something. Let's see if I can look in here. 1/4 horse, 230, 1.5 amps, yeah, and I think they pull a couple tenths less than that. So I mean, and it's like, yeah, 1075 RPM. So I'll get myself a 825 RPM pitch blade, and maybe even one for a full rated motor, so that way it could really move some air. And then I'll two-step this, because I believe all these ECMs are in this generation were 2-speed. Because if you had this motor in on the XL16 or the 16i, I should say, or the 19i, both of those were 2-stage compressors, and they would run a slower RPM on first stage and then ramp up on second stage, you know, full capacity. So with that, I'd be able to like run this pretty low on mild days like we have right now, where, you know, coil temperature would be perfectly acceptable, and then on a hot day it would ramp up and actually move a little more CFMs of air than OEM did, which may or may not do any good. You know, there's a certain point where you probably just start adding airflow and it just doesn't really worth, you know, the increased amp draw. So, these coils in the video, they look really horrible, but they're not as bad. It's just the outer, very outer level is like stained from when I was experimenting on these bastards with a mister, and I was using filtered water. As soon as you go past the leading edge, look, it's black. It's still got the anodized black on it, so it didn't totally screw these coils up. And I used cleaner on them, but when you first glance at these, somebody noticed the stain. They go, "Hey, did you try misters?" I go, "Yep. About 3 years ago, I was just using these as bastards, and I experimented by having little misters turn on when the compressor kicked on. It didn't do as much good as you know, versus having the stupid water mess and everything, so I took them off. So you'd be much better off evaporating the air than you would, you know, just spraying them right on the fins. And I think if I would have kept them on there, the calcium would have turned them into rock. So that wasn't going to do any good. That'd be very bad. And I had those water filters you use for your misters, you know, when you use the misters on for cooling, you know, your personal misters or whatever, but the ones that you hook up to your hose, if you don't use the calcium blocking filters, your misters like get hard mineral in them every time you go to reuse them. The next time they'll be plugged. And if you use this little inline, you know, calcium blockers, it would take quite a while to plug up those mister heads. Like you turn them off and on and they keep working, you know, when you have to clean them every once in a while. Well, I used those on these because I know that it was just going to plug them right up. But yet there's still a trace amount of minerals that would get through them and just stain these, and they're stained just on the leading edge. Though it didn't get them that bad. You look back past, you know, the leading edge, and you can see the anodized black color is still there. It didn't embed deep into there. Just the first leading edge outside of the coil is the only thing I got stained with that calcium. So they're not fucked up or anything. Hey, what's up? I'm not familiar with that name. HVAC with ESA, I guess it's kind of, what's this guy say? Deuce swept blades. Oh, you're talking about like those ones Train uses? Those are more for the sound, but obviously switching to those high-end blades ain't gonna do me any good, because I mean, listen to the Bristol and then the Copeland compressor was replaced in that one. I mean, reciprocating compressors are noisy. And also what I was mentioning in that last video in the comments section, they're talking about, you know, people were explaining to some of the newer guys that the sound they're hearing is not from like, you know, vibrations transmitting through the motor mounts or anything like that. It's literally the sound radiating through the shell of these reciprocating compressors. They're horrible. I'm yet talking probably pretty loud right up to the edge of my phone so you can even hear me right now. And what you could do is put a noise blanket around them, you know, or some brands would put a noise blanket plus a metal box around them. Well, before everybody started coming up with this stupid idea of 4-sided cubed condensers with the compressor just down underneath the fan, a lot of brands used to be 3-sided. Lennox was famous for it. Lennox actually had Bristol compressors in a lot of those units, and guess what? Those were quiet units. Why were they quiet? Well, it's because they were 3-sided, longer with three longer, two longer sides and one skinny side. And on the other side was just a big metal cover you took off. You took off the metal cover, and sometimes that cover was insulated, and you had the compressor in there. Metal behind it, not, So when you put the cover on those, the compressor was surrounded by metal on all sides. And sometimes they had them insulated. Lennox did. They have insulation, fiberglass insulation in there. Some of the models actually had an insulated box on top of that was going around the compressor. Even though they're the same piece of shite, loud Bristol compressors, with the Lennox, you had insulated compartment and you didn't hear it. Also, the compressors didn't run as unloaded as long as like these units originally did with the piston type metering devices. Until they got balanced out, the refrigerant pressures, they would be way worse. But I added thermal expansion valves to these. And then Goodman, before they went to this bastard design, they used to make, guess what, 3-sided condensers that were copycats of Lennox, except for they had the, crappy fan grill and stuff. But they had 3 sides, 2 sides being longer than the other, and then that one side was a metal cover that came off. And the compressor was in there. Door closed. Those were actually pretty quiet Goodman units, except for fans. The fans were always falling apart on them. But the compressor, being the shitty Bristol, was inside a insulated cut panel, basically, a section, isolated. So that's kind of retarded that they went to these tall, skinny, 4-sided ones, but that's what they did to be cheap. And that's what we got blessed with for, about 15 years worth of these compressors being in these bastards before they went to the scrolls in the later 2000s. I think more like 2008 era, somewhere in there, is when, and towards 2010 is when Goodman started shifting to scrolls, and after 2010 they were all scrolls, I believe. So these are 2001. They've done the typical Goodman repairs, I'm sure. I already tell the compressor aren't original. When I got the house, the stupid thermal stack relays for the fan were acting up as typical, and I put magnetic relays up there, fixed the drain pans, added the expansion valves, which then I had to add the start kits, the potential relay and start capacitor, because these compressors don't like to start against, when you don't have a full equalization, which is what happens when you add a TXV. That's why Lennox units would have a start kit in there, and if they went bad, the compressor wouldn't start. So, yep, that's pretty much it. So, yeah, this is on the side of my house, where everything's kind of crammed here. A bunch of my old personal stuff is here that's took out of the garage. I thought I had a compressor blanket that I took home, but nope, I can't look in there yet. I don't remember. I think what happened was our dog chewed it up. I set it out here next to the unit, and I think what happened was I scored it, and I brought it home. I was like, yes, compressor blanket for this bastard. And the dog chewed it up. I believe that's what happened to it. So it's actually, I never got to install it, so that kind of sucks. But you know what? I just changed out a unit. And it's just hidden over here, actually. Does it have a blanket on it? I thought I was just laughing about, yes, it does. This is a Goodman unit here that I changed out. Just and put a thermal zone in place. Guess what? Look down there. There's a compressor blanket. So I should put that on mine. Hey, what are you doing out here? Huh? Do you hear that loud? What do you hear? What's that loud noise? Do you know what that is? What is it? Say loud. I know she's sick. What?
Air conditioning.
The air conditioning? Do you know what brand we have?
What?
Do you know what brand AC we have?
No.
What do I say sucks? You've heard me before. What brand sucks?
Microsoft.
Not Microsoft. Microsoft good. It's not being funny. Goodman. We got Goodman here.
I know what Goodman is.
You don't know what it is? Okay. Well, think of a Chevy versus a Ford. If we had a Chevy, what would you be saying?
Chevy sucks.
And what would you want instead of the Chevy?
A Ford.
Like a what?
F-150. I have one in my room. It's a toy.
Or what else? F-150 or what?
An F-150.
You gotta talk loud.
F-150.
Or what else is acceptable?
Maybe an F-250.
That's right. But no Chevys?
How about
What if we got a Dodge? What if we just want to save a few dollars and we bought a Dodge instead?
No.
Why?
Because they suck as well.
They suck as well? Oh, see that? So now she knows what I mean when I say Goodman sucks. So looks like the one unit stopped and we just got the one running. So Yeah, it'll be fine until I get that other blade. We dropped down into the 80s again. We hit the 90s, 80s. Supposed to hit the 90s later in the week. So liquid line's not hot or anything like that. It's just fine. So it wouldn't even conk out during the summer. You probably only see like maybe 5 psi or something increase or something maybe with that speed. I mean, it's blowing pretty good. It's inducing the hot air. So I mean, you probably wouldn't even notice the difference in the electric bill if I didn't even change the fan blade. But I'll see about getting a steeper pitched and then setting it up for two speed. That might be the next little thing to do. And like I said, I'd like to put a VRF compressor in the sucker. That would be really fun. I'm just waiting. I just don't want to buy the new parts. But if I ever find a deal on a rotary, you gotta be careful because some of those rotaries I've looked up, they'll be like not 60 hertz. They go up to their full capacity is running like at 120 or something crazy like that. And some of those Japanese brands, so you better be careful, and then you got to get a matched inverter to be able to run that. So that'd be kind of fun. So all right.